Well, hello there, my friends. So glad that you have decided to spend a little time with me tonight. My name's Gavin. This is my channel. And on this channel, we cover true crime. We like to cut through the fluff and the sensationalism and just cover cases with respect and empathy and sympathy. And boy, do we need to turn on our sympathy and our empathy tonight because we are coming back around to the case of the murder, the suspected murder. We don't have a body, but we're convinced this is a murder of little Emmanuel Haro, 7 months old, was, I guess, last seen sometime between August 9th and August 14th. That's what we learned yesterday. Today, there were a couple things. Well, there were a couple things that happened since the last time you and I spoke. Number one is there has been a press conference in Riverside County with the district attorney. It's about 45-ish minutes long. Let me see. 41 minutes long, and we're going to cover the whole thing tonight. I need to get in the right spot so I'm in the frame. And so we're going to go over that tonight. We're going to listen to the whole thing, probably interrupt here and there. The other thing, though, is Brian Enton did some reporting saying that he has a source that says that there was a Perkins operation in the jail, that there was a police officer undercover impersonating an inmate, and that there was a jailhouse confession through that Perkins operation. Now, police apparently, I haven't watched the entire press conference, they're saying that is wrong. I did see one of the law enforcement personnel, I think it was the sheriff, saying, stop spreading misinformation. But Brian Enton stands by his reporting. So, I mean, I put it in the live chat from my experience. And of course, I live in Podunk nowhere, but from my experience, it is not uncommon to be told something in private by an official, a political person, a person in power. It's not uncommon to be told something in private and only to see them publicly say something else. And I know that Perkins operations are a little bit controversial. There are some very specific guidelines that police have to follow in order for it to be legal. And I think that there's probably some incentive for police to say, no, 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 we didn't do that. But anyway, Brian Enton is standing by his reporting. I'm not going to say one way or another that it's true, but in my experience, a good reporter, somebody like Brian Enton, they get the good stuff. And so far he hasn't led me wrong, but I guess we shall see in this case. So where do you think we should start? Uh, Thank you, Robin. My lighting game is working today. By the way, I'm trying a new version of the system for the live chats. So, hopefully it works out. I'm trying to fix it so that when there's a super chat, it doesn't get all messed up. So anyway, Susan Lewis says, I had to study the Perkins case for my criminal law class. Just extraneous information. Do with it what you will. Yeah, Riverside DA said it's not true and not to listen to social media. Fair enough. Yeah, he could have said that. Yeah, Cindy Lou Hoot. Uh, yeah, you did it right. You reached me through my website. There, I I get hundreds of messages. I will look through it probably sometime soon. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so since there is a little bit of a hubbub, let's first take a look at a couple clips from Brian Enton's. No, wrong one. Which one is this one? Give me a second. We want this one. Yeah, let me just make sure that they're all queued up correctly. Yes, they are. Okay, we want this one. And let's just see. There are a couple of clips or segments, I guess, from Brian Enton's video that I want to go over with you guys. Let's have a listen. Oh, hang on. We need that audio isn't coming through. Let's get the audio so it will come through. We'll zoom back. Let's have a listen.
Baby Emmanuel's father, sources tell me, Jake Haro, told a fake inmate in the jail that he killed baby Emmanuel and put the baby in a trash can in his house. Let me repeat that again. Sources say that Jake Haro told a fake inmate in the jail that he killed baby Emmanuel and put the baby in a trash can in his house. You might be wondering how police got this information. This is part of what I'm told is called a Perkins operation. A Perkins operation, which is when police use a fake inmate to try to get information out of someone who has been arrested and who is inside the jail. This Perkins operation came after, I'm told, Jake Haro confessed to police that he rolled over in bed and killed the baby by accident and then buried the baby. So that is what Jake Haro told police, which is why he took police to that spot out along the freeway. This video that we have that shows him out there searching. That story, I'm told police believe, was all made up. First they got that story, then they decided to do the Perkins operation, I'm told, which is when they used the fake inmate and when they say they got the information that Jake Haro actually killed baby Emmanuel and put baby Emmanuel into a trash can. Meanwhile, baby Emmanuel's mother, I'm told, is still sticking to the same story. They also did a Perkins operation with her in jail, and she is standing by her story that baby Emmanuel was kidnapped. That is also, you'll remember, what she told a reporter who she talked to in jail. So many tragic twists and turns in this case. My big concern right now is that if this story is true, that police...
By the way, no, that's actually good reporting there. He's like, this is what I've been told. If it's true, so he's not saying that it is true. He's just saying this is what I've been told, and that is the proper role of a journalist.
Allegedly found out about through this Perkins operation that he killed baby Emmanuel and put him into a trash can, and that it may have been up to 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. Will they ever actually find
3 weeks
baby
ago,
Emmanuel?
yesterday.
I'm joined now by Kim Degonia, a former Riverside County prosecutor. Thank you for joining me again, Kim. I want to start with this new reporting that we have, that Jake confessed to police that he rolled over the baby, killed the baby, and then buried the baby. But apparently that story was not true, right?
Yes, that is correct. My insight.
By the way, this story reminds me of the other story about him bathing the baby, a different baby, and accidentally dropping her onto the center divider of their sink, right? Of their double sink. He seems to be a good storyteller.
Sources are telling me that was absolutely a lie. He made that all up to the police in order to, I guess, garner some type of sympathy, garner some type of a linear charge or sentence, but he made up this entire fabricated story that he was asleep with the baby Emmanuel, that he rolled over onto baby Emmanuel. When he woke up, he realized the baby was dead and he panicked. And so he went out to the Gilman Springs area that we saw him with the police the other day, and he buried the body because he wanted to have the opportunity to go back and mourn his son's death and visit him. That was his story. That's why he was out there in his chains and his shackles, allegedly trying to lead the police to the body that
We're going to get to what the DA said.
was never there.
Okay.
It was just part of the story.
The reason that we know that this is allegedly made up is because of this reporting that we have that he spoke to someone who he thought was an inmate in the jail, but it was actually what is known as, is it a Perkins operation? So it's actually a police officer who he admitted to actually killing the baby. First of all, can you explain what a Perkins operation is?
Sure. We don't know if the person who was undercover was a police officer, if it's another, you know, run-of-the-mill citizen of the community that was acting as an undercover inmate. We just know there was another body in the jail cell pretending to be an inmate in the same inmate clothes as Jake Haro, shackled in the same manner in which Jake Haro is, and they begin to ask questions while being recorded to Jake specifically about the charges and why he's in there in hopes that he will admit whatever really happened to baby Emmanuel to these fake inmates in custody. And it's called a Perkins operation. It's these types of investigative tools have been going
It's a
on
good
for
point, Shady
decades
Lane.
in agencies and district attorneys' offices across California. It's a
Illinois v. Perkins, by the way, is from the 90s. I think it's 1991. So, yeah,
very standard and typical
it's been
investigative
happening a long
tool
time.
that you see the sheriff's department use in many different cities and counties across California.
Is it controversial at all doing that?
Yeah, it's been very controversial. I think Orange County District Attorney's Office was at the center of a lot of the controversy a few years ago. From that came a much
Yeah.
tighter rein on how these are conducted. You know, the Riverside District Attorney's Office, from my understanding and my experience, has gone to great lengths along with the Sheriff's Department to make sure that they are following and articulating the legal analysis and following the law as they conduct these operations. It's very specific, and in my experience, they follow the law in using this tool as an investigative means to get a confession out of
We're going to watch the press conference. Don't
many
worry about it.
defendants over the years.
So this was a
I want
fake
to get
inmate
to what the
who
claim
he
is.
told reportedly that he killed baby Emmanuel and then put baby Emmanuel into a trash can. Um, do we? I'm just thinking about waste management and all the trash cans and the
Okay.
landfill. I mean,
Okay. Again, everybody, calm down. Okay. Calm down. Sandra, you don't know that this is not true. You know that the DA said it is not true, that police say it is not true. That's what you know. And like from the reporter side of me, listen very, very carefully. You guys can look to see everything that I report on. You I mean, there's got to be 3, 4 articles a day that I report on crime. And I'm very careful, like all journalists are, to say police said, or the victim said, or witnesses said, because I can't say what a witness says, what a victim says, what an official says, what a lawyer says. I can't say that it is true. I can only say that they said it. And that's where I'm like, you got to put on your skeptical hats here. Okay. Healthy skepticism, not like the pointy ones made out of aluminum foil. I'm saying a healthy skepticism. The DA said it was not true. All we know from that statement is that the DA said that it was not true. Now, Brian Enton, he has said that he stands by his reporting. Okay? And he's not even saying it's true. He's saying he was told by a source that this is what has happened. And then he investigates a little bit what a Perkins operation is. We are going to get to what the DA says. I want to establish this first, and then we will get there. Okay, but I just want to, like, all due respect, Sandra, I love you, and everybody else that are telling me this is not true. It may not be true. It may be true. All we know is they're saying it's not true. Okay, just that's all I'm saying. Yes, I do have the press conference, and that is what we are going to be looking at next. Why isn't that coming up? Give me a second. Why aren't the comments coming up? There it is. Yes, I do have the press conference, and we're going to watch it. Okay. First, let's get through this.
it sounds like this could be very difficult in terms of finding his remains.
Yes, that's the sad part of all of this. That is correct. He did confess to these, we will call them fake inmates, that he did kill baby Emmanuel and that he threw him in the trash can at his home uh, approximately a week before Rebecca Haro even stated that the baby was missing. So baby Emmanuel's been missing for quite some time. And as a result, Waste Management, from my understanding, has told the sheriff's department it would be nearly impossible to determine which waste management truck took the trash, which bin it was in, and which landfill this particular trash can would have gone to, making it almost impossible that we will ever find baby Emmanuel's body.
Yeah, I mean that's a valid. So if that did happen, if baby Emmanuel Haro was put into a trash bin, the likelihood of finding him is very, very, very low. And remember, just be very careful about what I just said. If it is true, we only know what we're being told. Okay? Let me.
Baby
Oh, that was
Emmanuel's
the end of it.
father.
Okay. I have one other clip. Let me see. This one. This one's about 7 minutes long. Here we go.
I don't think we're done with hearing the backstory behind Rebecca. I don't. I think there's more to come.
Do you think she's trying to cover for him?
I'm not sure at this point if it's trying to cover for him or if it's a cycle of abuse where she's afraid. I don't know if there's maybe some cognitive lowered intelligence that she's,
Welcome, Amanda.
you know, just repeating what she's been told. But like I said, again, I don't think we're done hearing the backstory to Rebecca. I think there's more there.
With these Perkins operations, since you have
Thanks,
been
Anna.
a part of many before in your past, um, do they record them or how do they work? Like, how do they go down? How do they find the people? I'm sort of fascinated by it. I'd never heard of it before. How do they find the people to do this? Do they record them? Like, kind of walk me through the whole process.
Right. And when you say I've been part of them, I don't actually go to
Yeah,
the
Susan.
jail and watch them. There's a DA designated for that. That's his sole job. And it's an order, again, to protect.
And actually, can I address this comment real quick? Susan, great comment. Okay. Uh, I, I'm going to change the details of this story, but just for anonymity's sake. But I can't. I've had one meeting with a prosecutor, let's say, in Western Pennsylvania, who has told me or has begged me, not begged. It was a cordial conversation. It wasn't begging, but he asked me, please don't publish what this specific thing that you heard in court today. We have another open case for another co-defendant, and we don't want that information getting out because it could taint the jury pool. My answer to that is, listen, like, my job is transparency. As a reporter, my job is to keep a journal of our area. If I witness something, I don't care if you have a very good reason for wanting it not to be published. If it's news, if it's important to the journal of the area so that 50, 100, 150 years from now, people can find out what was going on in my area, I'm publishing it. And I mean, Susan's comment here is there may be a reason the police and DA don't want to tell the public everything. Sure. Uh, like there could be, well, it doesn't, I won't get into those details, but sure. Yeah. There are a lot of incentives for officials to tell the public things that are partially true, are kind of true, are, nudging up against the truth, or are outright lies. And in some cases, it's ethical too, right? So yeah, great comment. I want to I just want to kind of explore this a little bit, then we'll get into the press conference.
Privacy and to make sure that the standard legal procedures are being followed. So there is one deputy district attorney designated to that unit, which is a great thing that the Riverside DA's office has done to preserve the integrity of this type of investigation. So what happens is that particular assigned DA goes to the jail, watches the entire interaction go on between the inmates, the fake inmates, the actual defendant, and the actual detectives. It's being recorded the entire time. There's cameras in the jail cell. There's cameras on the what we're calling fake inmates. And it's all above board. Everybody can listen to it later on, watch it, see it. There's nothing hidden once it's done. It's turned over to defense And it's routinely used as evidence in jury trials, the recordings from these operations.
It's kind of interesting that Jake Haro wasn't suspicious that maybe that was what was happening when he was talking to this other person.
It's kind of interesting that this seems to happen all the time. The inmates really don't become suspicious. They just verbal vomit everything to these inmates. I don't know if it's, to garner some type of strategy in custody to be part of, the violent members so that they're not attacked. I don't know if it's a preservation reason why they disclose, but it's shocking to me the amount of times there's disclosures and admissions made to other inmates in this setting.
Especially when it comes to killing a baby.
You
I
took the
mean,
words out of my mouth. I
yeah, because
almost
I
just
mean, in
said
the
that.
past when I've done stories, if you like hurt a child or you're a sex offender, I mean, it doesn't seem like the other inmates normally take to that.
Right. Right. It's shocking he would admit that because you would think that would not bode well for him in custody at all.
So let's talk about these charges that we now know about murder, domestic violence, and making serious false complaints.
Mhm.
Is that what you expected?
It is. I'm a little bit shocked they didn't file a special circumstance on this case. There's a
Hmm.
litany of different ones they could have. But again, they're in the beginning stages of investigating the case. I think
Yeah,
this
they
isn't
can
the
add
final
charges.
complaint that will be filed against Jake Haro. I think at some point there probably will be an amended complaint with certainly a special circumstance added to it. What we know based on the complaint that was filed, it looks like first degree murder was charged with Jake Haro. That 1109 that they're putting everybody on notice about, it reads like domestic violence, but what that really is putting everybody on notice about his prior child abuse that he did with Jane Doe, the 10-week-old baby, that they intend on using that information in future litigation, in preliminary hearings, in jury trials, that information the district attorney's office is seeking to admit along with the evidence of baby Emmanuel.
Yeah, and I'm going to get back to the 1109 in a second because that part stood out to
We
me.
might
But
be.
when you say you're
Yeah,
surprised they didn't file, I think
that's
is
probably enough. We can move on. And thank you guys. I did take some deep breaths, Robin. I did do a little wax on, wax off. I watched a clip of the next Karate Kid today. Mr. Miyagi was way cooler when I was little than he is now. Looking back on it, I mean, don't get me wrong. Mr. Miyagi's rad. Okay, so now that we've got that established, there is a source that has said to Brian Enton, he is reporting that there was a Perkins operation. We've got Kim, I can't remember her name, telling us that yes, the Riverside DA's office does do this. She worked at the Riverside DA's office, and this is how we do it. So it's totally possible. Now let's have a listen to this, which is the press conference that happened today. It's about 41 minutes long, and yeah, they are going to say that this is that what Brian Enton has claimed, has reported, that he says he stands by, is incorrect. Let's go ahead and have a listen now.
My name is Mike Hester. I'm the Riverside County District Attorney. Welcome. I want to do a couple of things today. First thing I want to do is introduce the individuals that are here on stage with me. First off,
Yeah,
my
inmates are
far left, we
stupid.
have Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. We have San Bernardino County Sheriff Sergeant Nicholas Clark. We have San Bernardino County Sheriff Shannon Dykes. We have Assistant District Attorney Brandon Smith, and then myself. So someone who's not here, I want to thank as well, or introduce as well, Jason Anderson, San Bernardino County District Attorney. I want to start by thanking these gentlemen up here. I want to thank the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office for their professionalism, their cooperation, and the great work that they do here so far. I want to thank Jason Anderson, the San Bernardino DA's office. His Bureau of Investigation has recently formed a high-tech crimes unit. They were instrumental in helping us with this investigation.
High-tech
tell you how
crime
things
unit
are
was
gonna go
instrumental.
There's going to be several individuals that make statements. up here, and then when we're all done with this, with the short statements, I will come back up and we will have a question and answer. I will take questions. I will take all of your questions till there are no more questions. Having said that, there's a lot that we can't say, that I can't say, that nobody up here can say. And the reason is that the defendants in this case have been charged with crimes, serious crimes. And so now they have a presumption of innocence that applies to them. They're innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I'm not allowed to prove my case in the court of public opinion. And so there's a lot that we can't say in terms of the facts and the evidence. For that, you will have to come to the court and to the various hearings and
we will
see how the case plays out. However, having said that, it's appropriate to have a press conference because it was the defendants in this case that had a press conference first. And they did so in order to tell the public, the media, and ultimately law enforcement that their child had been kidnapped, when in fact that's not what occurred. And so
there's an old saying, and I'm blanking on the attribution who said it, but to paraphrase it, it's something like, if your mother tells you she loves you, get a second source to verify that.
we're here to clear up some misconceptions and to explain how this case unfolded in terms of the investigation. It involves two counties working very well together. I know everybody up here on this stage, we work well together normally, but in this case, I'm very proud of the work that was done by Riverside County Sheriff, San Bernardino County Sheriff, my office, and also the District Attorney's Office in San Bernardino County. All right, so we'll go ahead and kick this off. I'm going to bring up first San Bernardino County Sheriff Shannon Dicus.
Thank you, Mike. To Mike's point, I want to thank all of you in the media for covering this, specifically the parents' initial statements to the public while we were trying to find Emmanuel. They became critical as we continued through this investigation. But I want to talk about a little bit about the process because we've seen a number of questions related to Amber Alerts and things like that. So I hope when I finish this that everybody understand kind of the course of the investigation. But the investigation started for us on August 14th. When Rebecca Haro reported that her son had been kidnapped. Folks, within 24 hours through video surveillance, we found inconsistencies in Rebecca's statement. And as a result of that, there was no other vehicle to put out on an Amber Alert or anything. And I know many of you were wondering why that didn't occur.
Yeah,
but really,
there was no
after finding
kidnapping.
out those inconsistencies in the statement on the initial report, that's where hundreds of hours of investigations have come in by our specialized investigations division to try to get to the bottom of what's really going on here. And when I say hundreds of hours, I'm talking about forensic data on vehicles, phones, and potential crime scenes, judicial authorized search warrants that were served. And through that process, that's where we learned that the jurisdiction of where this has occurred was in Riverside County. So hence the Riverside County DA and Riverside County Sheriff's Department, which I can't stress enough. We've had a long-term partnership. We work well together and we know how to get things done in these environments. But that's why the jurisdiction had changed from the original jurisdiction that was reported in, which is Yucaipa, California. But as we went through that portion of the investigation and realized that these things had happened in Riverside County, you saw the culmination of all the different entities get involved. And going back to what Mike mentioned about the DA's office in San Bernardino County and high-tech crimes, forensically, there are a number of things that we were able to prove up that we're not going to be able to share today exactly how we did that, but there is a tremendous amount of evidence that suggests that the initial story posed was not the correct story.
I wonder if combining the whole high-tech crimes and forensics, he's talking about digital forensics, or if he's talking about high-end, like good old-fashioned blood and DNA kind of forensics. Seems to me that when they're talking about a high-tech crimes unit, they're talking about digital technology.
So in that partnership with our agencies, I'm going to introduce my partner, Chad Bianco, where this crossover occurred at Riverside, and we reached out to Mike, who's obviously filing the case, and of course, Chad, to assist us in the investigation. Chad?
Thank you. Like Sheriff Dicus, I just want to thank all of you for, especially the the normal mainstream media for your attention to this and for your cooperation in this as we were assisting San Bernardino in this investigation,
That's
trying
funny.
to originally find a missing baby, but then eventually quickly.
That's funny because the mainstream media is only interested in as much as their audience is interested. Why is their audience interested in this? Because of new media.
Learning that that investigation was not something that it started as. Not so much for social media and keyboard warriors who, quite honestly, sometimes hamper and prevent us from a good investigation. I do want
That's also true. Both things can be true at the same time.
to expand a little bit about our relationship with San Bernardino. A lot from the media, a lot of questions have been raised about jurisdiction. And what Sheriff Dicus and I routinely talk about to our own.
I don't think that was a shot at me or other responsible new media members. I do think it was a shot at the. I don't want to put them down because their work is important because it keeps the story alive. But there were a lot of people, holding their phones at the courthouse in different places, people who knew the suspects, who knew family members, who know the house. Like they were talking, and sure, that can get in the way, 100%. But it also gins up. I don't know if that's a derogatory term. It excites the media consuming public, which then makes it extremely important for a person like him to do a very good job. And I'm not saying he wouldn't do a good job anyway, but the incentive is there because he's being scrutinized, and so are his deputies, so are his investigators, his forensics folks, and everything like that. So they hate it. And I probably would hate it too. But I mean, if it weren't for the social media aspect of this, I don't think that they would be to this point already. I really don't. And they're saying that it hampered their investigation. I don't buy it. Again, going back to my conversation with a prosecutor in Western Pennsylvania, like, you don't have to like what I do, but what I do is constitutionally protected because our founding parents knew that there had to be a free media, and it's okay if you hate it.
Communities
I'm
isn't
gonna keep
really
doing it, though.
necessarily displayed in the media or said to the media, but neither one of us care about jurisdiction. Our belief is that the Inland Empire is better served when we are cooperating and working together. And in this investigation from the very beginning, it was obvious that it could involve both counties. When something like that happens, particularly in this case, the original investigation began with Sheriff Dicus, and if he chooses to take it to the end, he will, which obviously he did. And my position is Sheriff Dicus is responsible for this and the assistance of my department. So there is no asking us. There is no anything like that. It is, we have to serve our public best, and he has every single available resource that the Riverside County Sheriff's Office has to offer to make sure that we provide justice in this case. This is an extensive investigation with both agencies that ultimately is headed by the supervisor of the Detective Bureau from the Sheriff's Office in San Bernardino. But the cooperation, as you can see, between the both counties is what is going to bring this to a successful conclusion. There is absolutely nothing, no crime more important than the injury of a human being, particularly a child. And the amount of resources that were expended to find this baby and to ultimately bring the people to justice responsible for the loss of this baby, I can't even tell you the amount of resources that were expended in this. It is a massive investigation that will obviously be ongoing, and we appreciate your efforts. This involves a lot of things, though, from us, and hopefully there are more questions to be answered, but I'll end it by saying this before we get into more questions specifically about this case. This was preventable in
Chaos Mama.
numerous.
The Inland Empire is what is referred to as San Bernardino and Riverside counties. So it's the eastern side of the Los Angeles basin. It's actually very large, very rural. And I don't know why it's called the Inland Empire, but yeah, Riverside County, San Bernardino County combined, that is the Inland Empire.
Ways. The amount of response we have had from the public, the enormous anger that a child was not only originally thought to be kidnapped, but then presumably murdered, kind of warms my heart a little bit.
Well, you're welcome,
There is
sir.
compassion still out there. There is care about other people. There is, people actually do care about other people. There is absolutely nothing worse than harming a baby.
Amen.
Broken bones, injuries, life-altering trauma. And had that case been successfully handled how it should have been, Emmanuel would still be with us today. So I thank you all for taking the time and the effort to make sure that the world.
Robin, real quick. I'm choosing not to do that. And I see that you've posted this comment in different versions a couple times. Let me tell you why. I'm very sad about it, but it's such a hot button political issue that I need to stay away from it. So that is why.
Sees this investigation, and we will successfully bring it to conclusion with the help of both DA's offices.
Thank you, Sheriff. I neglected to mention that Sergeant Nicholas Clark is the lead investigator on this case. So even though he's San Bernardino County, he will be functioning as the lead investigator on this case, which is ongoing. The investigation is ongoing, even though we have filed charges. And then Brandon Smith is going to be the lead prosecutor on the case, obviously Riverside County prosecutor. And with that, obviously, you all know, yesterday in court, we filed murder charges on both Jake and Rebecca Haro. We also filed filing of a false police report. And with that, I will take questions. I know you're going to have a lot of questions. I do want to lay some ground rules. The way we do it here is don't shout at me, no chaos, just raise your hand. I ask you to ask me one question at a time. I'll do my best to call on everybody. When we've gotten through everyone who has a question, then we can go back and ask more follow-ups, okay? So I'll start here on the front row. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Stephanie with CNN. My question is, first of all, do you have any idea where baby Emmanuel is at this point?
You know, yes, we have a pretty strong indication of where the remains of baby Emmanuel are. So that investigation is ongoing at this time.
Where would that indication have come from?
Yes, go ahead.
Matt Johnson, Court TV. What was the information that led to the initial search off the 60 in Moreno Valley?
I have a hard time hearing the questions.
Sheriff, you want to take that?
I'm not going to go into grave detail about that, but there is some level of cooperation with the suspects involved in this, and we're trying to locate that, and our job is to follow every lead. But for the rest of the room here, we have to understand what you're dealing with is an experienced child abuser that is aware of a previous case.
Yeah.
That is aware of evidentiary things that we are certainly concerned with. So we're going to take every step to not only work with any suspect or witness involved in this, because at the end of the day, we have to bring a case to Mike and they have to charge it. And we have to make sure that every single thing, no matter what is told to us or what we discover in terms of evidence, is the right thing and that we follow it up extensively.
Yeah. Okay, so we learned that they're
I'll go to you
cooperating,
first and then
or
Gigi.
one
Go
is.
ahead.
Gigi Garcia with Fox 11 News. Do you believe you know?
Patty, that's a good idea. Yeah, I can speed it up.
Died or was killed, and is there anything you can share?
The filing in this case reflects our belief that baby Noel was abused, victim of child abuse, and that eventually, because of that abuse, succumbed to those injuries. That's what we believe. Sure.
Yeah, it's going too fast. Sorry, Patty.
I noticed on the arrest records and booking records that they do have Jake Haro as murder with malice and also another murder charge as well. Is there a second murderer? Or can you explain why there's two
We-
on that booking?
We charged both Jake and Rebecca with murder.
Yeah.
Who's next? Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
This is in reference to what Pat was talking about, but can you go into
Judges, and there are exceptions, but judges enjoy what is usually called high official immunity. Yes, that is true.
some detail about that case in 2023 and what happened there?
Sure.
And from my understanding, it's suspended.
Yes, I will. So in 2018, Jake Haro with his ex-wife, there was another child who they were prosecuted for child abuse as well, child neglect, cruelty. That child was also an infant, and that
10 weeks old.
came to the courts, arrested in 2018. It came in to the courts in 2023. We had charged various felony crimes, child abuse, child cruelty, and our indication or our what we wanted out of the case was prison. We believed it was a prison case, and that Jake Haro should have gone to prison. Jake Haro pled straight up to the court, which sometimes reporters get this wrong, and you call it a plea bargain. Judges are not allowed to plea bargain. Defendants can plea bargain with the prosecutor, but when a defendant pleads up to the court, they plead to everything that they've been charged with, and they're essentially throwing themselves on the mercy of the court. In this case, a judge here in Riverside County, happened to have been a visiting judge from San Bernardino County, gave Mr. Haro a suspended sentence, which means, if I can translate for you what that is, it means that instead of sending him to prison, he chose to give him probation and suspend prison time sort of over his head, meaning that if he violated his probation, he would then go to prison.
Which is
The
baffling.
prosecutor in the courtroom objected to that and said on the record, we object. We think it's a prison case. You should send him to prison. And the judge decided, as is the judge's right to do in that case, he decided that Mr. Haro deserved an extra break and gave him probation and basically 180 days of work release, which ends up being like community service.
I have been in some sentencing hearings where an attorney will say, Judge, my client is a good person. He has been working hard to improve his life. He was born into this. He's worked so hard to get out of it. He made a simple mistake. It's the first time he's ever done this. Please take that into consideration when sentencing my client. Know that he's got family in the area that will support him, and they will make this eloquent plea to the court to be lenient. And I have to say, at least in my area, the court tends to be pretty lenient in my area. Well, I guess not in my county, but in neighboring counties that I cover. Yeah, we can see that you're trying to better your situation, that you fell into, hard times, blah, blah, blah. So maybe they just want to be able to sleep at night knowing that they didn't send a bunch of people to prison for their whole life. But this guy, what he did to that first baby, 10 weeks old back in 2018, that definitely should have been prison time, for sure.
I will say that it was an outrageous error in judgment by this judge. And I don't have any problem saying that. I'm not attacking the judge personally. That decision was absolutely outrageous. Mr. Haro should have been in prison at the time that this crime happened. And if that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today. And that's a shame, and it's an outrage. And I hate to say that, but when our criminal justice system breaks down, I'm going to just call it like it is and tell you it broke down. It's not how it's supposed to work. The judge had obviously meant well. At the end of their sentence, he told Jake, I'm giving you a big break today. Don't mess it up. But I want to point something out to you. I want to read to you the injuries.
The thing that sucks about that is that if he does mess it up in the same way that that brought him to court in the first place, that is hurting another person. There's got to be there's room for mercy, but judgment definitely needs to be made. I mean, yeah, you guys know what I'm saying.
The child's name is Carolina. She is still alive today, but she is permanently bedridden.
Oh,
She has permanent damage, cerebral palsy, that is a result of long-term child abuse. I want to read to you the injuries that were presented in court to this judge at the time of that previous prosecution.
yeah. Let me just address this one. Yeah, had he gone to prison, Emmanuel wouldn't have been born. That is true. I mean, I think that is the most likely scenario, right? I don't know if there's conjugal visits, blah, blah. I don't know. However, the other argument to be made here is that Kim on Brian Enton's show the other day said that there were multiple times that that Jake Haro came back to the court because he had broken probation. There were multiple times, and he could have had that suspended sentence, including like a month ago, like in July. In July, had the judge said, well, basically they kept continuing it, right? But had the court said, okay, you obviously aren't doing well, we're going to give you your sentence, then Emmanuel would have been born and he would still be alive, right? There are a lot of different ways that this timeline could go, right? But yeah, thanks for the comment.
Acute fracture of the posterior left rib, fifth rib, healing fractures of the posterior lateral 6th, 7th, and 10th through 12th ribs, healing fractures of the 6th and 9th through 12th ribs, partial
Exactly,
bone
Jojo.
fracture of the skull, brain hemorrhage, significant prevertebral soft tissue swelling of the neck, and a healing tibia fracture of the right leg.
Yeah, that's what
This
we
is
read
severe abuse
yesterday and the day
for
before.
an infant.
Crazy.
And so whatever you think of the criminal justice system and people need a break, someone who does that to a child belongs in prison, period. Next question.
Yeah, I agree.
Not to my knowledge, no. Yes.
Yes.
I'm not going to, I can't speculate. What I'll say, I'll repeat what I already said. We believe that Emmanuel was severely abused over a period of time, and that's the reason for the filing, the way it was, is that he was abused over a period of time. Both parents would have been aware of that abuse. I've already called on you, so I'm going to exhaust. Yes, sir. No, one question, sir. One question. I didn't say that, sir. I didn't say I know where the remains are. Well, you should get some rest, sir. You should get some rest. But no, I can't share with you anything.
Wow.
Look, there are professionals that are looking for the remains of this child. If the public has any information, then we ask for their help. So we don't know exactly where the remains are. We have some ideas in terms of where we're going to look and where we're going to continue to investigate. Yes, sir, all the way in the back.
You should get some rest, sir. Wow.
No, I'm not going to do that. Unfortunately, I understand it's an obvious question, but I just can't go into it. Those are things that the evidence will be presented in court, and I'll have to wait till we do that.
There will be a preliminary hearing. We'll get to know a lot of the details.
Explain, I know they both have charges filed against them. If you believe that
That's funny.
All I can explain is what we've filed. We filed murder charges on both of them and making a false police report on both of them. So you can extrapolate that we believe that both of them are guilty, that we can prove it's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for both the murder and the filing of the false police report. You know, how it breaks down as to who did what, that also has to wait for the trial. So let me go this way. Okay.
Procurador, básicamente, si nos puede hablar exactamente de este caso de 2023 que dice usted comenzó en 2018 y pudiera ser el eslabón que hubiera evitado en caso de que pues hubiera dictaminado una sentencia diferente que este niño Emmanuel estuviera.
Pues ya dije lo que puedo decir, fue una tragedia increíble y no hubiera sucedido. El
Shouldn't have
juez
happened. It
hizo
was a
un gran
tragedy.
error y juzgó mal y el sistema se quebró ese día.
It was a bad judgment.
Jueces,
The system failed.
fiscales, defensores, todos tenemos un deber y tenemos que hacer nuestro deber en nuestro trabajo.
He basically is saying it's a tragedy that never should have happened. That it was a bad judgment. The defenders, the prosecutors, they all have what they should do. They all have their duty that they need to fulfill, is basically what he's saying. And in the case of Jake Haro and the previous case of abuse, it was not done. That's basically what he just said.
Todo lo que puedo decir.
Pero básicamente no debió de haberle dado la libertad bajo palabra.
Claro que no. Le dio libertad condicional y esto fue un caso de prisión. Cuando uno hace daño así a un niño, debería ir a prisión. Eso es lo que dice la ley. La ley dice que la sentencia debe ser prisión por crímenes de este nivel de gravedad. Y en este caso le dio probation.
Probación. Yeah, so basically what he's saying right there is like the law says that this was a prison case, the last case. The law says this is a prison case. It never should have happened. He should have gone to prison, and that should have been the end, but they gave him probation.
Let me go to you. I haven't called on you yet.
Reporting on News Nation, there's been rumors that Emmanuel had been for days and weeks prior to August 14th.
No, unfortunately I can't. That has to.
I'm actually not sure about California, whether this will go to a grand jury or if they will establish probable cause through preliminary hearing. Now that you mention it, I'm not sure.
To wait for the trial to come out. Yes, sir.
Jim Davidson with Kidnapping.
Yeah.
Given the history that Jake has been obviously charged with previous child abuse cases, has CPS been involved with Emmanuel throughout his life at all, or have they ever just become parent?
To my knowledge, CPS has not been involved with Emmanuel. I don't believe there was any CPS involvement in this current case. Let me go. I've already called on you. So have I called on you already? No, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I can tell you that that's not true. It's there's no confession made in jail. Go back there and then.
Well, he just said it right there.
Go ahead, sir.
I mean, that's what he said. There was no confession made in jail. That's not true. Okay, now again, notice the words that he said. This guy is a wordsmith in at least 2 languages, okay? And I'm just putting my skeptical hat on. That's all I'm doing here. He said there was no confession made in jail. That could be true. At the same time, Brian Enton's source could say that could also be true, because maybe he didn't confess, but maybe he talked about where he put the baby, or maybe he talked about a whole slew of things that had investigative value. That's all I'm saying. Both could be true, or it could be one of those things where one of them is wrong, and the person who's wrong could be Brian Enton. It's totally possible.
Can you tell us how many kids Jake and Rebecca had were in their home at the time of the arrest? You know, a 2-year-old was taken. We saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, he speaks beautifully in Spanish. You can tell it's his second
There's the
language.
2-year-old and then baby Emmanuel. Yeah. Going back there, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Joy Benedict, Takeout News. My question is, how difficult is it going to be to try this case without finding it?
You know, a no-body homicide is always difficult, but obviously with an infant, we know that baby Emmanuel didn't, leave on his own or is not, didn't leave town. Obviously, it's a little different when you're talking about an infant, but we have a lot of experience in this county, trying no-body homicides, and we're confident that we can gain convictions in this case. Yes, ma'am.
That's terrific.
Can you tell us more about the search on Sunday? What led to that field and why that area?
Well, I think Sheriff Dyke has already explained that. He answered that question by saying there's been a level of cooperation with the defendants, so that's why they went to that area. But beyond that, that's all I can say.
A level of cooperation with the defendant.
I think the obvious question is, what happened then? I mean, you did do those reports, my coworkers just asked about the jail confession, your according to the fake inmate to get information, and the father confessed that.
Well, see, that's not true. So I don't know where you, well, no. See, this is what happens when you've got all these folks out there
Here we
online
go.
and these keyboard warriors. You get a lot of misinformation, and what you just said is not true. It's misinformation. So that's what I'll tell you did not happen. Okay?
It's pretty
I can't
forceful.
talk about the facts of the case. Well, no, I'm giving you information about baby Emmanuel. I'm giving you information about the cases and the investigation, but what you just said did not happen. So, that's not, I can't be responsible for when you guys get it wrong. Go ahead.
I know you have not found the remains yet, but based on the level of cooperation of the suspects and what you know so far, is the strong likelihood that the remains were at least at one point in that land generally?
Yeah, I'm just not going to comment on that. We're looking for the remains. These investigation is continuing. We're hoping to find the remains of baby Emmanuel. Yeah, please, Sheriff.
This is to that and to the question before. A problem that we are having in this, basically even on the question that was asked 2 questions ago, is someone posts something on social media and then you all believe that it's true. I actually complimented.
That is fair. Guys, that is perfectly fair. And I applaud him for it, right? We should all have our skeptical hat. Mine is a bowler. It should not be made out of aluminum foil. It should not be pointy, but it should be healthy skepticism. So if somebody says something online, even if they seem like they have some credibility, you gotta verify, gotta check it out, right? So I think that what he's saying is perfectly fair. But I mean, we're talking about credibility. I think Brian Enton is a credible reporter. And he's saying, I stand by my reporting. So I don't know. But what the sheriff just said just now, perfectly fair.
The mainstream media, because you've actually been reaching out to us for comment and actually been printing what we've told you. It hasn't been the sensationalism and the wants for clicks for social media. And that is doing nothing but harming this investigation.
I
And
disagree
when
with
you
that.
form-
I disagree with that. It may infuriate him. It may feel like it's getting in his way. It may feel to him, it may feel to him that he can't do his job properly because he has to deal with so much other stuff. But it is a constitutionally protected activity, the freedom of the press. And there is no credential in the United States that is given to the press. If you report and you say you are a reporter, you are a member of the press as defined in the Constitution or as protected by the Constitution. And it's supposed to get in the way. There's supposed to be a battle between the free press and the government. It's supposed to be that way. Now, that tension or that compression, depending on what's happening at any given time, feels really annoying and infuriating. You know what? Right before we came on, I was reading a text and texting back and forth with somebody who I'm working hard to be able to help her, but I'm not in a position that I can now. But talking about something that is happening inside the local jail, that is alleged to have happened inside the local jail. Again, got to keep that bowler hat of skepticism on, right? Like, I don't know that it happened. What I know is that people are saying that it happened, and so I'm trying to help. And my frustration is that the powers that be in my county are opaque. And I want to be perfectly transparent. Now, the reality is there should be something in between that's translucent-ish, right? That would be the compromise. But we're supposed to have tension. We're supposed to express or experience frustration with one another's behavior. That's just the way it is. But I mean, if he's saying that it's only the mainstream media that has been pushing forward this case, that is just patently absurd. The only reason that people care about, well, no, not the only, a major reason that people care about this case is because of the social media pressure, which leads the mainstream media to do their job. And that's my position in it.
Opinion and come in here and ask questions like that, you're not serving the public in any way.
They are.
The question way earlier, get some rest. There should be no one out there looking for baby Emmanuel except for us, because all you're going to do is complicate things in the future.
I disagree.
The one thing that I emphasize that I want to make it.
I disagree. Guys, how many cases? Oh my goodness. The Wolfenbarger case that we just saw, right? Melissa Wolfenbarger, that case never would have come to a trial if the police just said, leave it to us. We will do this. It never would have. And the public gets frustrated about this, including me, right? No, we're not going to leave it just to you, because even though you are trained, you are good at your job. I have faith that he is good at his job and his staff are very good at his job. You are understaffed. You are underfunded. And how many times has a Jane or a John Doe been identified sitting 10, 25, 50 years in a cold case file? How many times has that happened where a private organization or a private individual has been able to make major strides in identifying victims so that police can pick it up and go with it? Come on. I respect this guy. I'm so glad for what he's doing, but I don't agree with part of what he is saying here. I mean, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but there are cases that I've worked on where I feel like I've made a difference. Police didn't do it. My viewers and me did it. So yeah, I probably should let it go.
Clear here. The reason this is happening relatively quickly and the reason why we got such a handle on this fast is I believe that the Inland Empire is served better by their two sheriff's offices than any place in the state. And this particular case doubled its efforts. So instead of having 4,500 people looking for baby Emmanuel, you had 9,000. And so how did we get all of this information? It's called investigation. And we have two entire departments doing nothing but sifting through evidence, searching for evidence, trying to figure out what happened, who was responsible, and how we're going to successfully prosecute it. And misinformation, lies, and purposeful misdirection is going to do nothing but harm this investigation. And I am begging all of you with cameras out here, don't be a part of it.
I agree with that. Yeah. Misinformation, lies. Yeah, 100%.
You wasted yours in English? I'll get back to you. No, I've already called on you. I'll go ahead. I started with you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And actually, it was for Sheriff Bianco. I just wanted to follow up with you because the way you were talking so passionate about what should never happen. injury to a child. How does this compare to other things that you've seen? You mentioned broken bones in children.
That's awesome, Robin.
You impact me by the way you said that. So I wanted to know how this impacted you.
So I have to, cops get a bad rap of being just heartless souls. I will tell you that most police officers are parents, either dads or moms. And there is nothing more traumatic for us to go through than an injury, a death, or harm to a child. Nothing. And there is absolutely nothing that we want more than to bring these investigations to a successful conclusion. And when we talk about why we're here in the first place, that we believe someone murdered baby Emmanuel, who should still be in prison, but we have this unbelievable love for criminals, believing that they're somehow victims, and now we're all traumatized by it. We were all in this room a couple of years ago when I had a deputy murdered because someone was out on the street that should have been life in prison, but a judge let them go. We have an absolute breakdown of the justice system, and we are not preventing other children from being harmed when someone like Jake is allowed to be out on the streets harming children. And so the anger that I have, the frustration that I have, then combined with the misinformation and everything else, when for all of us and our employees, there is nothing more important to us than the death of a human, particularly a child.
I think that part's
We're gonna
fair.
work the back. Yes, sir. Well, we've got a lot of evidence. We're going to have to play that out in court. I can't lay it out here today. Okay, so yes, right next to him.
Will we see the arrest warrant today, and why or why not? And also, I wanted to see the Spanish report.
I don't know if we're going to see the arrest warrant today. So that's a pretty short answer for Spanish. So yeah. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, and then I'll come back to you.
As far as the timeline, do you believe that maybe Emmanuel was alive when the parents came forward?
I just can't say. I'm not going to give a timeline. Obviously, baby Emmanuel, we have a theory as to when his death occurred. So, and then I've also shared that we believe that when the parents came forward, it was to tell the public something that wasn't true. Going which way?
That's a good example.
Go ahead.
It's a very good example.
There's a lot of witnesses. Investigators are tracking down every lead. I'm not going to focus in on who's a relative and who isn't. There's a lot of witnesses in the case that are shedding light. Yes, ma'am. Right. So I'm not going to say, as Sheriff Bianco just mentioned, when you have members of the public that are out there doing their own searches, all it does is potentially prejudice and damage the case. So please.
That's not all it does.
Let the sheriff's department
sometimes they find
do their
things.
job. They know how to do this, right? We're helping with them, anything they need from us, but they are the ones driving this investigation, and they will track down every lead. I have all the confidence in both of these great sheriffs and their great departments. This investigation is ongoing, yes. Yes, ma'am.
In an effort to dispel all of that misinformation that we're seeing on social media, has a plea deal been offered to either Jake or Rebecca? Is that a possibility, and is this a death penalty case?
It's not a death penalty case. We did not and were not able to file special circumstances, and that's what would be required to be eligible for the death penalty. This is, we filed 2 counts of homicide, which in this case is murder, against both Jake and Rebecca. So not a death penalty case. What was the other?
The whole special circumstances thing is what Kim brought up
And is that still a possibility?
with Brian, and
No.
she expected that.
No, we're
Special
not interested
circumstances would
in
be
a
fine.
plea bargain with these individuals. We're interested in a trial and getting to justice. Yes, sir.
Where are we in terms of representation for these defendants?
I don't know. I don't know. That's not something that I have any knowledge of. Going back, yes, ma'am.
Is there a chance you may not find the
I think you just answered your own question. Of course, this is an investigation. We're searching for evidence. We've got two great sheriff's departments doing what they do best. So if there's a chance to find baby Emmanuel's remains, these men and women of these two agencies will do it. Yes, sir.
I do like how he pushes back against the media, though. I don't mind that at all.
Estamos aquí porque estamos acusando formalmente a Jake y Rebecca Haro de homicidio y de presentar un reporte falso a la policía. Los padres del bebé de 7 meses permanecen detenidos bajo una fianza de $1 million.
Okay, he basically just said, we're here because we've filed charges against the parents of Emmanuel Haro for homicide, for filing a false report. It is just basically, these are the charges.
Más de eso no puedo comentar porque no
Beyond this,
puedo,
can't say anything.
no puedo hablar sobre la evidencia en el caso porque eso tiene que suceder en un tribunal, en corte.
Can't talk about the facts of the case because this will come up in trial. I think they just wanted a Spanish language comment.
No puedo comentar.
Can't say.
No, dije que sí, estamos convencidos que el bebé fue abusado por un periodo de tiempo.
We're convinced that the baby was abused for a period of time.
O sea, tiene 7 meses, o sea, sobre su vida de 7 meses.
Over
que fue
his
abusado
7-month life.
sobre tiempo.
So he was abused over time.
Yes, sir.
By the way, I'm not a very good translator. The talent of translation is well beyond the talent of speaking or understanding. So that is just a very rough translation. And translation is actually a very you have to. It's a skill that must be exercised.
Just for clarification, maybe sheriff's department, not sheriff. There was a call for service that was generated by Jake that we investigated concerning a child abuse case, and that's all I can give you on that. And it was in Moreno Valley. No, not at this time. I think we've answered that already. If you are not getting information from his office or my office, you are doing our public an unbelievable disservice. We don't care what someone posts on social media.
Seems like
you all are going to believe that and then generate questions based on those comments, we're not going to get anywhere in this. If it did not come from our two agencies, stop believing it. That's all I can tell you.
I disagree. I mean, I can tell he feels it. He's committed to it. Wow.
Son responsables de la muerte de su bebé por la evidencia que hemos
The evidence shows they're responsible for the death of their
Es cierto que no
child.
tenemos el cuerpo del bebé,
We don't
pero
have
tenemos
the
bastante
body,
evidencia
but we
y
have enough
nosotros
evidence to move
estamos
forward.
convencidos
That we're convinced
que fueron responsables
that they're
del
responsible
homicidio de su hijo.
for the homicide of their son.
All right, going forward, where am I? Did you have another question? Go ahead.
This is for Sheriff Chad Bianco. When you guys were on the 60th Freeway in the Badlands area searching, we did notice that Jake was out there with the sheriff's department. Was Jake trying to cooperate at any time with the sheriff during that search?
So, We've answered that question, sir. That was Sheriff Dykes that answered that question of why they were out there. He said that there was some level of cooperation with the defendants, and that's all we can say. Yep, that's all we can say. Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel, because the baby was 7 months approximately when he died, born in December 2024, do you feel that there are people that let this baby down? Not only that judge who let Jake Haro down, but we're talking about 7 months of child abuse or several months of child abuse. Do you think there are other people who failed this baby, possibly by not reporting what they were seeing, what they thought was happening?
Well, certainly this baby was failed by his parents. So that's first and foremost. So yes, beyond that, I can't comment. But
I think the question was,
everybody failed this baby that
was there systemic failure on the 7 months this child had been CA'd, right?
close to him. Yes. Yeah. So I can't comment on the evidence in this case, but what I can tell you is that modern homicide investigations are very tech heavy. And we have two very modern, cutting edge sheriff's departments in Riverside County and in San Bernardino County. And so, yes, what you mentioned was the high tech crimes unit of the San Bernardino DA's office, their Bureau of Investigation. They assisted, and beyond that, I can't say what they found. That can't get into the evidence, but yeah, this case is going to be built on, like almost all homicide cases now, electronic, digital evidence. It all comes into play.
There it is. Okay, so I bet we're going to see that Jake Haro turned off his phone. You know, that there are all these weird things in his digital life. So yeah, they've got digital forensics folks working really hard. And what he said in Spanish, if you guys didn't catch that, is that the evidence convinces us that they murdered their child, that this is the homicide of their son, and the evidence shows us that. That's what we're convinced of.
Go ahead.
And happy to do that. That's no.
For baby Emmanuel, since he was born to the day he was missing?
I can't comment on that. Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
What's next?
What's next is, first and foremost, the investigation will continue, and it's led by the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, and then also Riverside County Sheriff's Department assisting, and then the prosecution will begin. We've filed the case. The case will begin to work its way through the criminal justice system here in Riverside County.
Hopefully it doesn't take 5 years.
Other folks. Yes, we're coming to the end here, I think. Go ahead. Not at this time. No, we're not looking at anybody else. We believe that this is the filings in court that will be in this case. Now, that could change if new evidence comes in. Yes, sir.
So the mother.
I'm not aware of a house fire next door. So, yes, sir. I'm not going to comment. Sorry, I can't talk about that. Anything else?
By the way, I've said this before, but reporters ask questions that they know that the answer is going to be no comment, because they can then report that there's no comment. I mean, I do that. I have an article coming out probably tomorrow that says exactly that. I made the call. Well, not exactly that, but I made a call for comment. It was not returned, that kind of thing. We ask those questions so that our readers know that we're asking the questions that they want to know the answers to, but the officials are saying, can't tell you.
Asesinato malicioso, doloso. En español, de encontrar el cadáver y otra evidencia, ¿pudiera cambiar a que usted presentara cargos de asesinato con circunstancias especiales
Sí.
que acreditaran la pena de muerte para esta pareja?
Sí. Podría cambiar si encontramos más evidencia y la situación cambia, los cargos pueden cambiar.
Saying the charges could change if if there's new evidence that shows something else, charges could change.
Anything else? I think we're closing up here. Anybody have any last questions? Yes, go ahead. Do you know when? September 4th. The court day will be September 4th.
All right.
All right. Thank you all for coming.
And that is, I mean, that was I'm glad that you guys stuck with me as we watched that whole thing. Let's bring up baby Emmanuel. Of course, I have a vested interest in defending what it is that I do. There's no questioning that, but I still am committed to my position on that. That no, social media drives a lot of good in criminal investigations. It does. Now, there's also a lot of freaking noise. A lot of noise. So I imagine that oops. Sorry, Kitete. That's little Judy Blue Eyes down there. There's no question that law enforcement is frustrated with, let's say, new media, social media, over a lot of just stuff. I mean, did you guys see yesterday in the court appearance that was supposed to be the arraignment, a TikToker, or maybe he's a YouTuber, I can't remember, like full on blurted out in court, "Hola," hearkening back, of course, to referencing to her story, Rebecca's story, that a man said "Hola" and then everything went white. She was knocked out, right? So there's no place for that. It should not be doing that. He did apologize for it, which I commend him for. But yeah, I can feel the frustration. I just also disagree because I've seen so much good that has come out of non-traditional media coverage of crime. Let's see a couple more comments here. I'm curious, worried about the condition of the living child that he held during their initial plea for the kidnapped baby. Yeah, from what I understand, that child is in the custody of Child Protective Services. Let's see, Robin Bernardi. And just like that, I now know, I guess, the reason why the question's asked and gets a no comment. I was becoming worried for mankind. That's funny. Thank you, Gavin. You're welcome. Oh man, Jojo, no, that's coming really close to doxing. I'm not going to do that. Couple more things. Annabana says, thank you, Gavin. Chat. Keep hope alive and hug your kids tonight. Yeah. Good night, Annabana. Thank you very much for joining us. Naomi says, they sound angry. I wonder if anybody would hear about this case if it wasn't for social media. Not much. And that's, yeah. That is the reality of it. Thanks, Naomi. And thanks for being a member. I see your little dorsal fin there. Pretty cool. Yeah, if you're going to report on cases, you should learn how to handle yourself in the courtroom. Indeed. Tanya says, the woman who has the other two kids took the 2-year-old. Okay. All right. Thanks for correcting me on that. How long have we been going tonight, guys? This is a long one for me. But maybe our live streams will get longer here in the future as I transition from full-time reporting to part-time reporting, which I'm excited for. I still really love my company, though, and I really love my job, so I'm sticking with it for a little while. Let's see. Let's close up real quick. For those of you who do not know me, you can always reach out to me on my website, gavinfish.com. There's always a link down below. If you want to tell me something, you can click on that little icon right there, and that will take you to a form on my website. I do not respond to most of the ones that come in, but I do read all of them. So if you want me to see something, go ahead and send it there. See this little fishy right there? That will take you to the fish tank, which is where we hang out on YouTube. You are more than welcome to hang out on YouTube with us. Also, I have noticed that so many of you are supporting Autumn, our lead moderator. If you go to my website and click on the Support Me tab, it shows all the different ways that you can support me. And my goodness, you guys take care of me. You take care of me with your memberships, with my patrons, the super chats and stickers, the tip jar on my website, liking, sharing, watching these videos, subscribing to my newsletter. But a great way that you can support the team is by buying Autumn a coffee, and I invite you to do that. No pressure. Never pressure, just an invitation. Autumn is rad, and so please take care of her. Guys, I may not be back tomorrow because I have an assignment that's taking me about 2 counties over. Again, do you see the little tail down there? Little Miss Judy. She's Judy Haynes. Miss Judy Haynes. Yeah, I have an assignment that's going to take me out there in the afternoon. I don't know if I'm going to get back in time. So if you don't see me going live tomorrow, I will be back. She's not Judy Blue Eyes. She's Judy Yellow Eyes. Look at those things. But so if I'm not back tomorrow, definitely be back Friday. Don't worry about it. Okay. Oh my goodness, Miss Judy. Guys, I am new to this whole cat thing. I've never had one before. We actually have 2. One is a little black and white Miss Judy. The other one, Miss Betty, she is gray and tiger striped and white. And they are the Haynes sisters. They're Judy and Betty Haynes, the Haynes sisters. So anyway, where was I? Because she's oh yeah. If I'm not back tomorrow, don't worry, I'll be back on Friday. Okay. It's just I'm gonna try to make it. But tomorrow's going to be a busy one for me. It might not happen. Okay. So thank you again. I will see you on the next one. Until then, I bid you adieu. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.